unit is treated as a precinct that goes. Let me just back up and say before we had the mobile units, Fulton County has several colleges and universities within the county. So during our early voting period, we would go to Georgia Tech for a couple of days, Georgia State for a couple of days, specifically the public universities, because as you all know, early voting has to occur on either an election day site or a government-owned facility. So we had the opportunity to do that. So we had a model already where we had early voting locations that were not open the entire 3-week period. So the mobile units kind of take that a step further. And so for any location that, again, was either a publicly owned facility or an election day site, we were able to take the mobile unit out. We publicized the list. We actually have 25 different locations throughout Fulton County, north to south. One of the things we do is we have 6 geographic commission districts, and we make sure that we divide early voting opportunities equitably among those commission districts. So, for example, the first day of early voting, it will be at St. Paul's Episcopal Church. It's going to visit Atlanta History Center, which happens to be one of our election day sites. And they will go for a couple of days, the same hours as whatever early voting is open that day. The other advantage is if we had let's say a plumbing emergency or some facility issue at a location, we could reprogram that mobile unit to go there and provide relief on election day. So we could, the machines, the equipment is there, and we're able to have voters check in. It's Wi-Fi enabled, so we're able to offer voting and expand the number of locations. As I mentioned, Fulton County is very large and populous, and so it helps us be able to reach voters, again, all over Fulton County.
Who owns those units? Just curious.
We do. Let me give you 2 specific examples about the 2 units. The power went out at 2 of our precincts, one at Chastain Park, the other in Union City. Perfect example for deploying those 2 mobile units.
Okay. Okie doke. Thank you very much.
And yes, sir, they are owned by the county.
Senator Harper on number 4.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Really appreciate it, and thank you for your patience while we were discussing these same with the Secretary of State's office. Senator Jordan referred to the early period, the Secretary of State's office and the elections, State Elections Board with the
Yes,
rule
sir.
where counties were given extra time before the election to start processing ballots. And if she asked this question, I apologize. Did you or did Fulton County, did y'all utilize that emergency rule? Did you begin processing ballots early or?
We did. I don't know that we used the full 2-week period. We had ordered some equipment throughout the process. We augmented the equipment that we were provided by the Secretary of State's office. So I don't know that we used the full 2-week period, but we certainly used part of it, and were able to again, a very high volume of absentee ballots, 130,000 more than we've ever had before. So that time was very much needed to begin that process. Even just sorting the ballots and those kinds of things is very work intensive. So I don't know that we, again, took full advantage of it given the opportunity, but we certainly were able to use that time and to the benefit of the elections process.
So, and you may not know the answer. You probably, and that's fine if you don't.
Sure.
You don't know what percentage of those ballots you may have processed before or
I
after.
don't, but I will certainly, I think we have that, and I will certainly look into it and try to get an answer for you.
And just kind of a follow-up on that, I know
Sure.
that you process those through the scanner. Do you know, is there a higher speed system that we might could use to help speed that process up a little bit? I think, because I believe that was a lot of the issue that Fulton
Right.
County dealt with that week was trying to process those
Yes.
those ballots.
I actually spent a whole night at State Farm Arena with the workers there, and I saw firsthand. It is very time intensive. My understanding is that that vote by mail states, so like many Western states, use a ultra high volume or a very high speed scanner. We used a higher speed scanner than what you would use in the precinct, but it was still not, I guess, the highest speed scanner that is produced. And that could certainly be an advantage in a situation like that where you're scanning hundreds of thousands of ballots. Yes, sir.
Thank
But
you.
I'll see if I can get more information for you.
All right. I think most everybody else around the committee asked some of the other questions I was going to ask, so I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Senator Ramon, are you on? I see 2 sevens down there. Are y'all sharing a microphone? Well, let's see, his may be, they're both number 7, so you don't have to share a mic. They're both on.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Yes or no?
My ballot.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's more like a comment, something, we are, thank you, Mr. Chairman, to having the opportunity to meet us over here. And this is, as we all know, this is unusual time and unusual year and unusual election that we had. We heard a lot about the signature match today, but I may be the only person had a different issues. I'm talking about this unusual time. What happened is the district I represent, people looks like a lot different than in this room, except probably me. I'm the probably only senator that got a call that somebody voting in person and with the ID didn't look exactly the same the ID was made. Because of the COVID, grown had a beard and a hair, everything else, and the person was challenged to say, well, you're not, that's not you. So that's happening too. So I just want you, the committee member, to know what we're gonna figure out. Had a harassment that, had a call, had to interfere, and the person was able to vote eventually. But the thing is, this kind of discrimination happened too. Even here, you have an ID and a registered voter as a citizen, nothing wrong with it, and you voted in the primary, had no problem, and then you go to general election and say, well, that don't look like you. What do you do then? We're gonna have a face recognition a machine or something to make sure we don't have a discrimination. And that's what I felt. And I had several folks in my district. They come from all different part of the world. I represent the people come from 100 different countries, speak 100 different languages. Sometimes some of these folks don't even speak good English. So we have a lot of other problem in the state of Georgia, not necessarily on the signature problem. I just want to put that out for your consideration. I want you to think about it.
We will see if we can get an answer. I think the appropriate channel for that question may be to the Secretary of State's office, and we'll see if we can get an answer for the committee on that. Are there other questions? Okay, Senator Robertson, number 2, you are recognized.
Thank you, sir. And really quick, something that you mentioned when Senator Harper was asking his questions is you pointed out a high-speed scanner that possibly might be available to expedite the process, while at the same time stating that your employees did not take full advantage of the time offered by the Secretary of State's office to do this. And I think that maybe looking into the process, because as a manager of large number of people, we need to make sure, especially something as important as an election, whether it's a city, county commission election, or any other election, that all of those involved are taking full advantage of the equipment, training, rules, regulations that are laid out before them. And I hear constantly, not just from Fulton, but from other counties, well, we're a whole lot bigger than this, and we're a lot different, and we have more ways to travel. You also have a lot more resources.
Yes, sir.
Something this important, threat assessments and planning and everything is so extremely important. So I have a problem of embracing excuses that are that are self-inflicted, that are brought up because of self-inflicted problems. And what Senator Gooch was talking about earlier is, I don't watch WSB where I'm at. I rarely read the newspaper here out of this city, but always is Fulton County brought up when there comes some kind of issue. And I think the important thing is for us to dive down and address the issue. And in public safety and everywhere else, the resources you have are greater because of the size of your community.
Yes, sir.
And so I get a little concerned with that, but I would hope before you went out and invested more of your money on high-speed scanners that, first of all, we get a good idea of what you can accomplish when you take full advantage of the regulations and rules offered to the communities by the Secretary of State's office.
Senator Robertson, I think that's a very fair point. I think Fulton County is blessed with resources. We are the largest county, and one thing that we have done, I want to reassure you, is convene a team. And part of the reason I'm able to answer some of these questions today, although my job is mostly PR and legislative affairs, is because we have had a very large multidisciplinary team across the county, kind of a bear hug approach of wrapping ourselves around this as first the pandemic and secondly elections have been the two issues that we have faced this year, and have my boss, who is a wonderful manager and leader, our chairman, everyone from the chairman down to the staff who are wiping and making sure the facilities are safe for us, have had a full bore approach to this. And now that the election is over, although it doesn't feel like it's over quite yet, we, I believe, have already begun the after action analysis to help us do better. This is important to us. It's important to Georgia. It's one of the services that counties are responsible for that I think all of us hold sacred. And I think it's something that your point is well taken. And I want to assure you that all of us are here to help make sure that happens. So thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions in the room. I have one question, I guess, that I was worried about being asked, but as I sat here and I think about it, I want to pose the question, and if you don't have the information to answer it, then just say that.
Sure.
There's been a lot in the media about some of the elections officials or election board, I'm not sure what, that left while there was still some counting process going on. And the only reason I ask this question is that I believe with all my heart there's a lot of misinformation out that we're all struggling with, and we chase these little rabbits and they turn out to not be a rabbit at all. But if that is something you have knowledge of for sure one way or the other and could speak to that, I think this might be a forum to help clarify
Yes, sir.
some of the rumors.
Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity because I was with the elections director the night of the election when this came up. We originally, we were processing absentee ballots at State Farm Arena. We had a number of staff there who had been there since early that morning when the water break that we talked about earlier occurred. One of the managers had apparently directed some of the staff to leave about 10:30 that night. I was with the elections director when he told them, no, you need to ensure that staff stay and continue working. We still have a lot more work to do. Some of the employees did leave at 10:30, and at that time, my understanding is that at the time they left or before they left, some of the observers also left. They may have had conversation with some of the workers there and told them they were leaving at 10:30. I wasn't personally there for that, so I can't speak to it. There were people, however, there was a Secretary of State monitor who stayed, and once there was clarification that these workers were going to continue, additional monitors stayed. So I believe it was a communication issue. I always say that every problem at some level is a communication problem, and I believe that is what occurred there. There was no intentional misleading of anyone. There was nothing untoward that occurred, but some of the workers stayed at that time. Some workers stayed, some left. Some of the observers, as I understand it, had left, but there was a Secretary of State monitor there the entire time. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions from committee members. I do want to thank you for being
Thank you,
here
sir.
and filling in for Director Barron. And as I said, we may try to do this again. It's
Sure.
been, I know everyone is a bit overworked, and certainly, legislators or citizen legislators, and they all have other things to do. But I do believe that our senators take this responsibility very seriously, and I think that's evidenced by the fact that all of our committee members are here today.
Yes, sir.
I thank you all for being here, and we're currently about 6.5 minutes short of our absolute deadline to end the meeting. So I will adjourn the meeting at this point. I do want to thank you all for being here. I thank the media for their coverage, and apologize for the problems that we've had relative to the COVID situation. And before you actually leave, I see the whip has had a movement over here.
I just wanted to remind our audience. There we go. I just wanted to remind the audience, a lot of people out in the hall and back home that are watching that are concerned about what's going on here in Georgia. There will be another meeting at 1 p.m. and I believe it'll be aired as well on the same website. Is that correct?
I believe that to be true. That's not my meeting, and I can't speak authoritatively about that, but I have been made aware of that, and I plan to attend that meeting. As I understand it, and maybe we're talking about the same meeting, is a subcommittee of the judiciary that will be meeting in this room at 1 o'clock. And that's not my committee. So if there's any misunderstanding, I would direct you to the Secretary of Senate's website.
I just didn't want people to leave their positions where they are thinking this was the end of the discussion of the topic. It is for this committee, but there is another meeting at 1 o'clock. So
That's exactly right.
All right.
So again, thank Mr. Pro Tem. Let me get you turned on.
Thank you very much.
I'm in the microphone. I know you're turned on.
I'm wound up. I'm wound up, I can tell you. I want to thank the folks from Fulton County for being here and the Secretary of State's from being here. And we heard from Muskogee County folks that could not be here. Some clarification, did we not have one more group that we were expecting?
We had, so I'll run through that again very quickly. We had invited to this meeting election officials from Fulton County, from DeKalb County, and later Muskogee County, as well as the Secretary of State's office. But in all fairness, I think it was early yesterday morning, DeKalb County communicated with us that they would not be able to make it due to their off-site workload. And I think you guys have stepped up.
That's what I want to recognize, exactly.
The same thing is going on probably in every county. We have done everything we know to do to create a forum for the committee to get to the bottom of the issues that we're hearing, and to reestablish trust in the elections process. And I want you to know that as your chairman, if you have recommendations for a future meeting, we can certainly do that. I would ask for you to communicate those. Probably the best way is to communicate those through Abby, who does a phenomenal job for me. But as you do that, let us know what your availability is. I realize this is the Christmas season. I know as legislators, we all got, the calendar really ramps up as you start into the next session. But we can certainly meet again, but I will not abuse your time, and we'll do whatever we can do to serve you. With that, the meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make one closing statement. That's to thank you and the members for allowing us to be here. And if you have any suggestions whatsoever that you think will be helpful to Fulton County to make sure that January 5th is a smooth, is an open, and a fair and transparent election, I would like to hear from you. I will welcome that, and I will not consider that to be any criticism of anything that we're doing, but we want help. If you can help us in any way, ideas, suggestions, we're open. If you need us back here again, we will be here. That's my commitment to you.
We appreciate it. Y'all
Thank
have
you,
a
sir.
Merry Christmas if we
Thank
don't
you.
see you
Thank
between
you.
now and then.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Right Side Broadcasting Network. We hearing today. Pretty informational. They touched on a lot of hot topics, including signature matching and using your photo ID in order to cast your votes. They said not to go anywhere. There's another meeting today at 1 p.m. regarding the same committee. Things are a little bit different, so we're trying to find out more information. However, again, 1 p.m. here today. There will be another meeting going on, same room at the Georgia State Capitol. We want to say thank you for everyone tuning in today. We do really appreciate it. We have a lot going on. We have the March for Trump bus outside the state capitol right now, so it's a lot of fun here.